Coming up today, fresh from sealing a historic nuclear deal with Iran, the United States indicates that it's willing to talk to North Korea about its nuclear program, but Pyongyang needs to show, through action, that it's willing to denuclearize. Has the Chinese dream turned into a nightmare? Analysts say the recent stock market rout in China has blown a hole in President Xi Jinping's vision of building a rich and powerful nation. Plus, in a remarkable feat, NASA's New Horizons spacecraft beams back to Earth the first ever detailed image of Pluto. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Wednesday, the 15th of July. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'm Mark Broome. Our top story this afternoon, the groundbreaking nuclear deal between Iran, the United States and other major world powers is raising hope North Korea's nuclear issue could also be resolved through dialogue. Washington, however, says Pyongyang must first take clear and verifiable steps before any talks can be held. Han Dan starts us off.
Soon after striking the historic deal with Iran, the U.S. State Department said Washington is also ready for talks with North Korea on its nuclear issue. But on one condition, Pyongyang first needs to take credible actions that can convince the U.S. that it's serious about abandoning its stockpile of nuclear weapons. South Korea's Yonhap news agency reports that when asked about what the Iran deal means for North Korea, State Department spokesman John Kirby said it clearly demonstrates Washington's willingness to engage countries with which it has long-standing differences. But he cautioned against a direct comparison, saying Iran has actively engaged in talks for years, whereas North Korea tries to set up talks while continuing to develop its nuclear weapons program. The spokesman reiterated Washington's stance that the U.S. will return to the negotiating table as long as the talks can be authentic and credible, get at the entirety of the North's nuclear program, and result in concrete and irreversible steps toward denuclearization. Kirby also told reporters that Washington is maintaining close contact with South Korea as well as the regional powers, namely China, Japan, and Russia, to resolve the North Korean nuclear issue in a peaceful manner. The so-called six-party talks designed to denuclearize North Korea haven't been held since 2008. Han Dan, Arirang News.
Now turning our attention back to the details of the historic nuclear deal between Iran and the world's six major powers and the international reaction to it. The deal, agreed in Vienna on Tuesday after marathon talks between Iran, the US and the other world powers, limits Tehran's nuclear program in return for the lifting of sanctions. Among dozens of other conditions within the agreement, Iran has confirmed that under no circumstance will it seek to develop nuclear weapons, and UN inspectors will be allowed extensive access to Iranian military sites. Now, US President Barack Obama has hailed the deal, but warned Republicans that he plans to seize what he called this historic opportunity and will veto any effort to prevent the deal's implementation. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said a new chapter has begun in his country's relations with the world. Now, Israel slammed the agreement, calling it a stunning mistake. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the deal makes the world a much more dangerous place than yesterday, and his country will not be bound by it. He also said the agreement repeats the same mistakes made with North Korea. South Korea's presidential office says it shares the ruling Saenuri Party's hopes to mend their ties and to normalize their consultative body. This comes as President Park Geun-hye and the ruling party leadership are set to meet on Thursday. Their relationship had soured over the president's vetoing of revisions to the National Assembly law and the resignation of former party floor leader Yoo Seung-min. Efforts to normalize ties were made by both sides recently, with the president appointing her new political secretary and the party electing a new floor leader and policy chief. During the meeting, President Park is expected to seek the party's cooperation in getting parliamentary approval for pending bills, including one for a supplementary budget to support the local economy that has been hit hard by the MERS outbreak and the recent prolonged drought. Korea and the US will meet for their biannual Status of Forces Agreement Joint Committee session in Seoul later this afternoon. Topping the agenda will be the accidental shipment of a live anthrax sample to an American airbase in Korea in April. Now, officials are expected to discuss the ongoing investigation into the episode and ways to hopefully prevent similar accidents from reoccurring in the future. Also on the agenda is an accident at a US shooting range in Gyeonggi-do province in March that injured a local resident, and the legal status of the roughly 28,000 American troops stationed here in Korea. Now, with the Chinese stock market tumbling over 30% over the last month or so, questions are rising about whether President Xi Jinping's so-called China dream of building a rich and powerful nation is merely that, nothing more than an unachievable dream. Shin Se-min reports.
China's key economic indicators show that the world's second-largest economy is slowing down. Industrial output has been dropping, and China's central bank has slashed its benchmark rate 4 times since last November. While China has been showing signs of a stock market rally, analysts say that the drastic collapse of equity prices and the recent stock market debacle suggests that the bubble may have burst. Experts say that the country's experiences in the past few weeks will not prompt the government to take too many risks in terms of financial reforms, as the fervent policies already in place may have helped inflate the market in the first place.
That the pace as compared to what we saw in the past 2 years will slow down because the government needs breathing space to go back to the drawing board and think about what went wrong in the implementation process.
But one investor says the market's recent fluctuations were normal.
For a Chinese market, it's normal. China's market is different from developed markets overseas because there are too many speculators in our market.
China's key share indexes fell following a 3-day rally. The Shanghai Composite had fallen over 1% at the end of trading on Tuesday, while the SCSE component index gained 0.9%. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Now, a formal contract is being drawn up that could see Korean smartphone maker Pantech being taken over by a manufacturing company called Optus. According to industry sources, Optus has inspected Pantech's assets and is preparing a contract to submit to the court. Now, the court plans to approve the contract if no issues arise, and the two companies will close the deal on Friday if that is the case. Pantech has been in court receivership since last August. The ailing company was facing liquidation after 3 rounds of talks with potential buyers failed this year. Optus is in the process of finalizing buyouts for employees and the bid for Pantech. Now, the bid for the ailing smartphone maker Pantech, the price tag is expected to be around $44 million. A decade has now passed since Korea launched its first low-cost carrier, and the market is going from strength to strength. And it's fair to say that the budget carriers had some teething problems in the early stages, but they're thriving now thanks to their cheap airfares and solid reputation for safety. Kim Min-ji has more.
It's been 10 years since Jeju Air, Korea's first low-cost carrier, got off the ground. Despite some early setbacks, it wasn't long before others, Jin Air, T-Way, Air Busan, and E-Star, jumped into the market. Now they've become a popular choice for air travelers.
Low-cost carriers have grown an average of 6% every year since 2010 to account for more than half of all domestic flights. Now their focus is on boosting their presence on international routes.
Currently, some carriers offer flights to popular travel destinations like Guam or Bangkok, and plans are in motion to even go as far as Hawaii. Their success can be attributed to the low-cost factor. Companies stripped away services such as in-flight meals and amenities like blankets and toiletries to keep prices as low as possible.
I'm obviously using the service because it's cheap, and this time around I got an even better deal with a promotional discount.
I'm a student, so I was looking for cheap flights and came across this airline. I don't really mind if they don't offer conventional services because my trip is short.
However, Korean consumers weren't all that positive when budget airlines first launched, as it was generally thought that cheap meant less safe. Many carriers had small fleets comprised of older planes, and with the packed flight schedule, it was hard to keep up cabin maintenance.
Although some may think low-cost carriers may compromise safety for cheap fares, that's not the case for us. We abide by the government's safety regulations as well as international standards.
Experts expect the low-cost airline boom to continue as long as companies are able to adjust their strategies and stay ahead of aviation and tourism industry trends.
It's not like these budget carriers can deploy planes that can carry hundreds of people. So rather than focus on long-haul flights, they should focus on gaining competitiveness in short-range flights to popular destinations in Asia.
The local industry is forecast to grow 3- to 4-fold over the next 10 years. Despite the projected explosion in growth, experts say the government should support local budget carriers as foreign players have their eyes on the Korean market. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now to some exciting science news. And a US spacecraft has sailed past Pluto, sending back remarkable images of the frozen world that sits at the most distant part of our solar system. Scientists hope the data received will shed light on the makeup of our tiny part of the universe. Kim Ji-yeon reports.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
People cheered as NASA's New Horizons spacecraft flew past Pluto, capping this part of its 9.5-year, 5.7 billion kilometer journey on Tuesday. This is an image sent by the spacecraft before its closest approach to the planet, and many more are expected in the coming months.
Well, what we're trying to learn about is, what makes Pluto tick, if you will. How was it formed? Is it still alive? Is it a frozen world, or does it still have something going on inside under the surface?
The spacecraft passed the most distant reaches of the solar system at the astonishing speed of around 14 kilometers per second. Just to give you some context, at that speed it would take an hour to circle the planet Earth, speed that no flying object on Earth can currently match. Scientists hope the voyage will shed new light on the origins of the solar system and parts of the universe beyond Pluto.
How did the solar system form? How did it get to have the geometry that we have that allows there to be an Earth that's as wonderful as the Earth is? But after that, we hope we can send the spacecraft to visit another object way out there in the solar system.
The U.S. is now the only country to have sent a spacecraft to all the planets in the solar system. Pluto was first discovered by American astronomer Clyde Tombaugh in 1930 and was categorized as the solar system's 9th planet. It was downgraded into a dwarf planet in 2006 when international standards of what makes a planet were revised. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Now, Arirang TV, the channel you're watching right now, has signed an exciting new deal with the United Nations to launch a 24-hour channel on the UN in-house network. It becomes the first Korean channel to establish a 5-year partnership with the UN and joins a host of other international news channels like CNN and BBC World. Hwang Sang-hee reports.
Arirang TV will now reach viewers at the UN headquarters in New York. Arirang TV CEO Bang Seok-ho signed a memorandum of understanding with UN Undersecretary General Christina Galak on Tuesday, announcing the launch of a 24-hour channel on the UN in-house network.
That will enhance the knowledge, the understanding of the Republic of Korea and the region here. The media outlets available through the UN in-house network can be viewed by many staff members, diplomats, visiting government officials. You mentioned about key opinion leaders.
Attending the MOU signing ceremony, South Korean ambassador to the UN, Oh Jun, noted the significance of this historic agreement.
Arirang TV, as Korea's prime English language broadcaster, I'm certain that it will lead the way to enhance communications between the United Nations and the Korean people. And in Korea as well, through this new initiative.
Seoul has been mired in years of historical dispute with Tokyo and has been promoting the importance and benefits of a reunified Korea to the international community. To better introduce Korea's perspective on various issues, Arirang TV will broadcast a mix of news and current affairs program that cater to the UN network. Arirang TV CEO Bang Seok-ho vowed the channel will strive to become the voice of Korea across the globe.
Just like our new slogan, the world on Arirang, we pledge to the bridge that connects Korea and the world through our quality programs.
Arirang TV is the first Korean channel to establish the 5-year partnership with the UN headquarters. Other international news channels available on the UN network include CNN International, BBC World, and Al Jazeera, among others.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon also welcomed Arirang TV to the United Nations, expressing his hopes for the channel to soon play a key role in bridging the gap between Korea and the UN. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News, New York.
Well, those are the stories we're following on this Wednesday afternoon here in Seoul. For more of the latest, don't forget to check out our website, arirang.com/news. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.